Hi friends, Ashley from Wildwoods&Homestead. I'm starting this video with some firewood harvest, but before I get too far into it, I did want to share that this video does contain some hunting as well as firearms, so I don't know if that's something that you're not comfortable with. I just wanted to share that up front. I do have a supper idea recipe towards the end of this video, so if you're interested in that, you can just skip ahead. I have been listening to Three Rivers Homestead. I believe her name is Jessica, and one of the videos she talks about why she enjoys homesteading, and she talks about how their work is tied to the seasons. And I love that. I have always wanted our work to be tied to the seasons. And I think we are slowly getting to that point. For a very long time, it has not felt like there has been a schedule, a kind of, going with the seasons. There hasn't been a rhythm, I guess, is what I think rhythm, yeah. Rhythm is the word I'm looking for. There hasn't been a rhythm for us. It's been a little frantic the past few years trying to finish our house build. And before that, we were trying to finish the build before we needed to start paying the mortgage and our rent in town. We couldn't afford to pay both. So it has been, I guess the only thing I could think of is frantic. Yeah, kind of needing everything to be done at once, but only being able to do one thing at once and one thing at a time, and trying to figure out, prioritize when it seems like everything is the priority. Building the house, clearing the land around the house, or for a long time we lived in just muck, and we didn't have a yard or anything like that. And that was something I was really surprised about when we did move into our house, and it was still so unfinished, and around us was so unfinished. And it was like, okay, well, what do we do now? It wasn't like move in and start living. It wasn't like move in and start farming, start gardening. It was like, okay, move in and now start clearing more and ripping out roots and dragging the lawn to level it so that we could actually plant seed, and then trying to get the seed to grow. And it's just been a lot of that. But I would say we're finally getting to this place where we're starting to get a taste of what it is to be tied to the seasons. So I'm starting this with firewood harvest, and we do harvest a lot of firewood from our own acreage. We don't want to clear cut. We want to be purposeful in the way that we clear. And we love the trees. We don't want to just have all of the trees gone. We love having trails through our woods. So we're kind of just clearing the trees up and using any trees that have fallen. We've got a lot of standing dead trees that need to be cleared. We have a little area that we're clearing for a cow. And those areas we are harvesting firewood from, but a lot of the other areas we want to allow our woods to just be woods that our kids can play in and build forts in, and that we can enjoy and just have. We have a herd of elk that travels through our property, and we want to leave a lot of that area for them to do that. We really enjoy things like that. We also find that poplar, which is what the majority of the woods are on our acreage, does not burn that well. So this year we are actually heading out to Crown land and harvesting these standing dead tamarack, spruce, and pine trees. And so far, this is our first time burning this kind of wood, and it does seem to burn really well, but also it just smells so fragrant. I really love it. It's a lot of hard work going out into the woods here and harvesting these trees. And I'm still pretty terrified of the wildlife. I'm showing you guys a cougar print here. We were actually hunting. We had harvested a dead standing spruce, and then we went to hunting for a little bit, and we found these very well formed fresh cougar tracks, and they were huge. It was really neat to see, although I don't know if I would have liked to see the cougar itself, but it was an interesting sight. And I love driving around here. I love getting into the woods, as terrifying as it can be sometimes. But I love living up here. I love doing this. And in this particular spot, there were a bunch of moose tracks, but this is a tamarack tree that Geoff, it was dead standing, that he cut down. And it was a bit further back, and I was so nervous out there looking around. I felt like it was a perfect spot to peer into the woods around me and maybe see a cougar looking back at me. My imagination does not do good things for me when we're out in places like this. But one of the benefits of harvesting dead standing firewood is it just gives wildfires less fuel. The wind and the fact that we have spindly poplar, it just creates a lot of dead standing, half rotting firewood throughout the forest here. So going out and ethically harvesting these large dead standing spruce and pine and tamarack trees, it not only gives us really great firewood to burn, but it just clears out some of the fuel for forest fires. And then we just are really careful to clean up our spot around us that we were working, and spreading out the branches and things like that, so that everything can just return to the soil and not just be tinder dry brush piles. harvesting firewood and hunting, I also gather rose hips. They really develop after the first frost, and they just have this really sweeter flavor after it's been cold. Because we still have not had a hard freeze yet, I can still harvest these, and they have this sort of floral appley flavor to them, and they're really high in vitamin C. So I bring those home and we process them and dry them for tea. And then here's the grouse. I didn't show Geoff dressing them. They're not that big, so once I bring them inside and clean them up, I just put them into the freezer, and it takes probably about 10 of them to make a meal for us. So once I have enough of them, I then just pull them out of the freezer and make a meal of them. But for now, as we are hunting for elk and deer, we will also hunt these grouse and bring them home and just put them in the freezer as we harvest them. The following day, this is what we woke up to. This is my favorite kind of snow to wake up to. It just seems so magical to me. I had a viewer ask if I could show our fruit trees, and I don't feel like there's very much to see. They're still quite small and covered in snow currently, but I thought that I would just walk out here and share. These are our hascap bushes. I plan to put more in next year. Behind them we have Saskatoon berry trees, and then along here we have dwarf apple trees. I have several varieties, and I can't remember what they all are. I have 2 spots at the end where I need to put some more. I plan to put maybe 2 more trees in next year. And then at the end here I have apricot trees, and I have not had the apricot trees for a winter yet, so I'm not sure if they'll survive, although they are supposed to be hardy to zone 3. I also plan to put bees over there next year, and I'm very excited about that. That's one of my winter projects, is researching bees, researching honeybees. So if anybody has any direction or advice for me, I would love that. I also have some apple trees over here and some Saskatoon berry trees, and I'll show those in the spring too because they're so beautiful when they're in bloom.
Sharon, stop eating it!
Over the summer, we had a grizzly get into our meat birds, and she ate a lot of them, but she tried to tear the building apart, so it's sort of a mess. And I really noticed the claw marks when I was out there in the bright snow all around me, and so I was just showing that. So far, Geoff has been working to hold a consistent temperature in the greenhouse since he got the wood burner online for heating this space. I still have a lot of damage from the cold that I need to cut out, but I am slowly planting the greenhouse with some cold hardy winter crops, and it is another huge reason why we're harvesting firewood, because we are finding that it's taking a lot more than we realized it would to heat this space. It's becoming a tradition for me to finish my videos with a meal of some kind or a recipe. We are just really big foodies in this house. We love good food, and it's not just that we even love food, because there's lots of food that we don't enjoy eating, but we love making food, and we love experimenting with recipes, or finding recipes and making them, or modifying the recipes to be what we want them to be. So that I'm going to continue that. I'm going to share what I made for supper. And we have all of these beautiful pumpkins. Some are from our garden, But we also had some neighbors bring us some pumpkins as a gift, and so I am using our pumpkins and our neighbors' pumpkins to make this stuffed pumpkin soup recipe. And initially, when I started it, I was thinking about the ingredients that I had in my kitchen, and I was sort of just thinking what kind of flavors go well together. I didn't really have a recipe or anything like that. So this recipe sort of just formed by being in my kitchen and looking at the harvest and looking at what I had. I had a lot of canned pumpkin in my refrigerator that I had made, and I just shared a little bit of that in my last video. And I'm just going to interrupt myself for a moment and segue to canning, because this video is, I think the theme of this video is living off the land, providing food. And I think canning goes with that too. And this fall, I have really been watching a lot of canning videos since I did my apple canning video, and I dipped my toe into that world of canning, and it was incredibly satisfying. And I'm standing in my kitchen one day and I'm looking at the space in my cupboards and where I can store jars of canned food, because I always just thought, well, I don't have a root cellar. I don't have space for that. But I'm looking around me and I'm realizing how many cans I have in my cupboard that I bought from Costco. Baked beans or tomato sauce or marinara sauce, even these frozen peas. And this year I just got a taste of what we can grow out here. We grew peas and beans. We grew dried beans and carrots and potatoes. And we didn't grow as large of a quantity as I wanted to, but we are still working to develop the soil, and we're trying to grow in a place that is not conducive to growing. It is not forgiving here. And I'm just showing you this garlic. This is garlic that my neighbors grew and brought to me. And I am going to plant some garlic this fall. I actually am going to share that in a video because I still need to harvest our carrots, and we had this beautiful snowfall that I shared in this video, but we have some warm days coming and the snow is melting, so I'm going to take that opportunity to go plant garlic and harvest the rest of our carrots. I also need to clean out our deep litter chicken coop, and so I will have a video for that soon. But this year I really am looking at what people have brought us that they have grown around us, and then what we have grown, and I'm realizing how much of the food that I can store, I can can. And that's a new thought to me. It's this sort of vague idea that was in the back of my mind since I was a child, and now here I am in my late 30s, and it's just finally becoming something that isn't just a vague thought. It's a wow, I can do this. I can can meat. I can can our vegetables. I can grow our vegetables, and that really seems to be becoming more of a reality. With that reality is also just the creativity and motivation to create recipes based on what we have. And I think I'll write this recipe out. It's a stuffed squash soup, and we ate it the first day just out of the pumpkin, and then I just returned whatever was left to my Dutch oven here and added some broth the next day, and we had this delicious filling squash soup. So I will write that out and share it. I appreciate you guys joining us.